What if? You woke up tomorrow and you felt different. What if? You began to question what others haven't noticed. What if? I began to have experiences I could not explain at a very young age. Our worldview is filled with intrigue, wonder, adventure, and of course, mysteries. However, there are some situations that we cannot fully explain, and it's time we open up this dialogue and talk about our experiences. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Welcome to Haunted Mysteries. Welcome to Haunted Mysteries Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. This show will air every other week on the Get Haunted Podcast Network. So sit back and relax, and if you miss it, go to the Get Haunted Podcast Network Facebook page or to my YouTube channel under Haunted Mysteries Podcast. Spend an hour every other week with us, delving into what most of us are chasing after, answers to unexplained happenings. This show brings you a bit of chatter, topics, theories, guest interviews, and more. May you be a believer in cryptids, apparitions, UFOs, consciousness abilities, or anything else. Know that there is another person out there who has experienced something similar or a bit stranger. It's not always in our imagination. This episode is pre-recorded. Welcome back to yet another show. My name is Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz, and I am the host and producer. We will be visiting with Tim Sudano on this episode. He is the host of a podcast called Paranormal Insight, and he also has delved into the mysteries and realms of the paranormal, engaging listeners with fascinating stories and insights brought to the airwaves by his very intriguing guests. A little bit about his background. He was a private investigator where he honed some of his skills. He was led to NASA where he learned more than he probably should have, and he has had an impactful experience and life in the U.S. Air Force in the ROTC program. He channels his passion for storytelling into filmmaking and also boasts several award-winning films to his credit. He serves as the lead investigator for the Seekers of California for the Ethereal Investigation, also known as SCARI, S-C-A-R-I, where he combines his investigative expertise with his love of the paranormal. We had a really interesting show, so sit back and grab something, and let's please welcome Tim Sudano. Well, good evening, Tim, and thank you so very much for being on the show today.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, It'll be really fun to talk with Tim today. He's got actually a real interesting background that I haven't delved too much in with anyone else, and we'll get to all that in just a moment. But all right, so here's what I usually do, and we'll get started because we've got a long hour here to go. I usually like to start with the foundation because it gives everybody an opportunity to understand where somebody has been and why they have actually been intrigued in this field. So, Tim, go back to probably the earliest age that you can think of, and when something has happened or happened to you in any respect, and why that kind of started the ball rolling.
Sure. The first memory happens to me when I'm about 3 or 4 years old. A lot of people are going to say it's a dream, not a dream, and you'll find out why it wasn't a dream at the end. So I'm like 3 or 4. I'm in bed. Back in the day, I slept with my door open in case anything went wrong with me or whatever. And I'm laying there, and suddenly the living room light pops on. The light shines into my room, and I open an eye, and there's a woman standing there, and she's dressed in a uniform, and it's a vest with a white blouse underneath, and it's green on one side, blue on the other, with a blue skirt, and she has a bob haircut, platinum blonde, I might add. Well, not platinum, but blonde. And she puts her hands on her hips, and then she starts pop, like she's chewing me out, but there's no sound. Her voice has no sound whatsoever. Then she takes a couple steps towards my bed, and I don't know who this lady is, so I hide under my covers. Now wait. I dare to lower my sheets, and she is right here in front of me. Gives me another stern scowl, and and I run, and I get out of that room, and when I do, I run through her. And I'll never forget that sensation of cold that kind of peeled off me as I scooted down the hall to go find my mom. My mom gets up, helps me back to my bed, and as she's doing so, she asks, how'd you turn the light on? I said, I didn't turn the light on. The lady turned the light on. Now, one thing about construction in the 70s and before here in the U.S., the door switches were set about halfway up a door. They lowered them since. But back then, I couldn't even reach the light switch. So that was the standing evidence that something else happened. And that was my very first experience with the paranormal that I recall.
You know, that's interesting because a couple things that I find a little bit intriguing here. You're kind of the first one that I've ever heard of with something doing the kind of the scolding action to you as a kid, but not just once. Came over and really wanted to get into your face about that, and really but yet, correct me if I'm wrong here, you couldn't hear her though. You could just see her basically saying something but waving her finger. Is that right?
Waving her finger, no noise at all. She was voiceless except for her wanting to say something.
That's interesting. Yeah. That most of the time someone, especially when they're young, might hear something. And then again, what was she wearing?
It looked like an air steward uniform, or stewardess, we used to call them back in the day. But it was definitely a uniform. She had like a white shirt or blouse underneath, and it was a vest. You know, the vest they wear, the blue on one side, green on the other, with a dark blue, same color blue skirt. Mm-hmm. And she was virtually opaque. I swear I could see through her ever so slightly, but virtually opaque, which was something else that's kind of unusual in the paranormal game. You don't usually see that.
Yeah, I hear of, well, and I've talked to many people who have actually seen full figure solid individuals that, so, and including myself, that have kind of disappeared. You do the opaque where you can kind of see right through them. Kind of reminds me of, if anyone's familiar with that famous picture at Myrtle's Plantation of Chloe, where you could actually, well, they claim it's Chloe, but who knows who that individual really was.
Right.
But, you could see right through her, where you could actually see the the shingle, not the shingles, but the siding on the building, and right through her. And there are individuals that I've also talked with who have seen and have been standing next to, I'll just give you Sasquatch as an example.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just an outline of Sasquatch, but everything else in the middle was completely, very translucent. You could see right through them. So I've heard of all different kinds of accounts where these things have happened. But so did she show up to you after that point?
Never showed up again. Interesting, isn't it? Maybe I made such a stink. I don't know. I ran through her, and she goes like, "Wow, that's new."
Yeah.
and maybe it clued her in what was going on. Who knows?
So after that point, what would you say happened then? I'm not even going to get into the question of whether or not you have abilities to some degree yet, because I think at that age, all you're doing is building some blocks here of pieces that are happening. What happened then?
Well, let me go back to that small point about abilities.
Yeah.
Around that same age, I think even earlier that year, 3 or 4, whatever it was, I have always, to this day, I had to focus a little more today, but back then I could see auras around people. And I actually told my mom about that. And I said, "Hey, Mom, there's a light around you." I didn't know how else to describe it. And she says, "What?" I says, "Yeah, there's a light around you. Do you see it around other people?" "Yeah." "Do you have one?" "I don't know." And I went in the mirror. "Yeah."
Oh, even the mirror showed it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. So I've always been able to see auras, and I do have some sort of psychic whatever. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, but it is there.
No, but it's interesting because just recently, within the last couple of years, I've had my auras. I don't know how great the software is, but there is software that can actually perhaps see these colors that are around an individual. So what colors did you see?
Chiefly, it was a very light blue with a white outline. And my mom was in a happy space. I've seen her in a less happy space, and it goes kind of orangey red, kind of maybe with a hint of yellow in it. So when she gets angry, I can kind of pick up on that. Just if I focus. Like I said, when I was younger, it was a little bit easier to perceive, but.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is very fascinating too, because I think more people now are getting their auras done, and mine usually turns out to be kind of bluish, purplish, blue,
Okay.
Blending into purple, and I can't remember if that's something along the lines of anything with intelligence or creativity, or I don't know. I don't follow the colors of that, but so when you're walking down the street to this day. And I do know someone who seems to pick up on that a little bit, but it doesn't sound as good as you. Can you actually, like when you're walking in a crowd or something like that, do you see these auras kind of outlining people?
Sometimes, yeah. The background, believe it or not, helps. I mean, if it's a white on white background, I'm not going to see anything unless someone's going flying into a rage or something like that. Then I might pick up on something. But if it's a darker background, I do have. Yeah, I have seen, to this day, I can still see stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't always kick in. I have to be in a state where I'm kind of a little relaxed. I've had a coffee or something, and I'm just kind of relaxing, and it starts showing up. It's like, oh yeah, look at that.
So things change, things strengthen, things weaken. What are your what's going on with you regarding that?
In brief, I will say, as I have gotten older from that point, 3 years old, I have literally experienced at least once all of the major psychic phenomena: telepathy, clairvoyance, and that third one.
There's okay.
A third one. There's a third one. I can't name it.
I'll list them for you because I'll tell you what I have, and you jump in and say, all right. So there's clairsentient, which is your ability to smell; clairaudient, which is your ability to hear; clairvoyant, your ability to see future events. Right.
That one. Yeah.
Yep. Telepathic myself. I do have the ability to hear voices that aren't female or male, but rather just something that's channeling either to me or through me sometimes.
Okay.
I'm psychokinetic, which means, or at least I've been told, the ability to affect things or move objects. Another one is telekinesis, which is the ability to move things from a distance, which I have apparently done, and or something has done it. It's very interesting.
Interesting.
Did I hit any of the buttons there yet? Clairgutance, which I can't remember what clairgutance is. I can't remember what that one is, but I have that one in my book, one of my very first books. So
there's also what's that called? Psychometry.
Oh, psychometry, where you're able to pick up people's energies from the objects that they
objects. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
One of the things I was actually, yeah, that's kind of interesting. If I am close enough to an individual, I have a minor telepathic link I can establish where I can actually see through their eyes and see where they're looking. That came in handy as a PI, believe it or not, when I did private investigative work. It didn't always work, and it was, distance matters because I'm not that powerful or whatever, or practiced. But yeah, that was around 18 or 20. That came in really handy. And then I had this one incident with my sister. She's not technically my sister, but I think of her as my sister. And we were sitting in the car one day, and this huge, old school monster truck. Someone just really wanted a monster truck and decided to turn their car into one, or truck into one. And we both notice it. And then she says to me, "My God, that's a big truck." And I said, "I know, right?" And she turns to me like I have grown antlers. And she says, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, you just told me about the truck." "Tim, I didn't say a word to you. I thought something like that." And I said, "Bull." And we go back and forth a little bit. And she says, "Tim, I think you're telepathic. I've only done that with one other person." And that was my biological brother, who had passed a few years earlier at that point. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." And I remember a specific sensation at the back of my head, like a rattling, like a nerve twitch almost, but it was in my skull. You know the bump at the back of your skull here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I felt it, but underneath. There was a physical sensation associated with it. And then I had a clairvoyant thing in high school where it was the end of the year. We were just kind of goofing off. It was PE, and coach didn't have anything else to do, so he dragged at the flag football thing, and we started playing flag football. And me and my buddy Randy walk off early because, forget it, we're going to hit showers early. There's nothing for us to do, really, and coach was cool with it. And then I hear this cue, and I was like, and it all pops in my head. I dreamed this, or I had this vision in my dream state that morning. And I turn around and say, "Randy, check it out. He's going to say this. He's going to say F you, and they're going to get into a fight. Watch." Boom, boom, boom. Exactly that order. And my Randy never talked to me after that ever again.
Probably scared the living,
I scared the crap out of me. He actually stopped me in the hall and said, "Tim, how'd you do that?" And I said, "I don't know." But that was probably the clearest clairvoyant thing that ever happened to me. Since then, I've been largely empathic since doing investigations, so I can sense when certain things are around, and it's like, like when you walk into a haunted location, you just hit that wall, you know. It's something's up here.
Yeah.
So.
Have you ever had, because I've had over 100 plus experiences and 3 to 4 perceived otherworldly experiences, which we'll talk about. I'm going to be on Tim's show at some point here, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, I've got a lot under my belt too, but that brings me to the question of activation, okay? I get activated really, really well when for some reason I am really dead tired, slumpy. I don't want to say depressed, because I'm not depressed all the time, but there are times when I get into these depressed moods, or I'm an empath, so I take on the world inside my soul, and it just sometimes drags me down and everything. And then all of a sudden I'm activated, which means I can win things, predict things. I went through and if we remember this, I can talk about it. I went to have a regression done because I have believed otherworldly experiences happened to me, and I wanted to figure out who put a handprint on my body. Okay. Anyway, I left that session incredibly depressed. I mean, I was just down in the dumps, and I went home, and it's a long story, but let me put it to you this way. For the 4th year now in a row, I have been able to predict the winner of the Kentucky Derby. I have been able to watch on TV a baseball game and tell you exactly what the batter is going to do, where they're going to hit the ball, if they're going to strike out, if it's going to be caught, who it's going to be thrown to, and all that just before, just this, when he gets up there and he just ready, I can tell you, that's when I'm activated. So let's zip this back to you. So I get occasionally, do you know what I'm talking? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
This electrical cobweb, tingly electrical feeling inside. Have you ever experienced that? And tell us a little bit about what kind of experiences you've been through like that.
I get that on investigations more than anything. When excuse me, as I said before, like you walk into a space and you hit that wall, like somehow the ethereal, paranormal, whatever it is happening within this space and seems to be locked into these walls. It doesn't bleed out for whatever reason. The paranormal likes walls. I don't know. But you walk into this space and suddenly I'm on. I am hyper aware of everything going on around me. And it is, my head's on a swivel. I probably look like a crazy person, but I have a camera and I'm looking around, and my camera work is junk when I'm in that mode, by the way. But so I actually started wearing it on my shoulder so it doesn't follow my head all the time. But yeah, he's like, okay, we got to look over there. And I have a psychic on my team, JJ Rose. And she's the super specialist when it comes to that type of thing. And we usually confirm each other's feelings. It's like, I got something over here. What do you see? She says, oh yeah, that's something else. I was like, okay, good. We'll check that out. And so we kind of make a list based on these feelings, and then we back it up with as much as we can with hard evidence.
That's
if we can capture it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is it's that feeling, it's that sensation that I know that when I walk through at this incredibly 900-year-old haunted bed and breakfast in, I think it was Wales or whatever. It's been a few years. And well, I had a lot of terrifying experiences over there. But when I hit that wall that you're talking about, all of a sudden, like there's a one moment during that where I could actually see the apparition rushing around the corner. And I was able to match up her face that I saw with a picture picture that I discovered, and it was of the maid that used to hang around there, well, used to work there back in the early whatever, and she was still there. But yeah, that wall, and also that grungy feeling of I don't know, it's just heavy, and sometimes
the air is heavy. It's super suppressive.
It is, yeah.
You know, and it feels like, in one case, in a couple of different cases actually, it feels like you're walking into a sauna almost. It's super muggy, but it's not refreshing whatsoever. It's just super muggy feeling, you know. And I can echo your seen the maid when I was there's an attraction here in town called the Winchester Mystery House. For good reason. Lots of ghostly stuff has happened there over the years. There's been other investigators that went in. Well, my team went in on the tour. We just said, well, I bet you all these people walking through are kind of activating certain things. And sure enough, we hang back. We're taking little snippets with our phone. And I didn't get this guy on tape. As soon as I drop the phone, I see this apparition appear. And it's this guy with this handlebar mustache. He's got the driver's cap on, suspenders, and he's working at something. He's either sawing or hammering. I couldn't tell which. And he looks up, gives me a little "hey there" smile, and goes back to work, and then he disappears. Later on the tour, they have pictures of the workers. Sure enough, there he is, right there. Yeah, that was intriguing. It's like, oh, proof. This is the guy I saw.
Yeah, but you know what?
Cool.
Just like you having the ability to see these auras, your eyes, for some reason, and not everybody's eyes can pick up on stuff like this. I mean, you know, cats and dogs are very sensitive, and they can see things and hear things and smell things long before we know it. And that's fascinating, because not everybody gets an experience where they can. Was he? Did you say he was kind of translucent? But
He actually had kind of a purple hue to the whole scene. It was weird. It was like looking into another time. It was just that little moment. It was kind of purple hued a little bit, not like deep purple or anything like that, but purple hued. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And he was as solid as anyone else. That was the other thing.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part about all this. I bring this up on my shows periodically, that there's a gentleman that I know. I used to hear and believe that, just because of what people were saying, that an apparition can only hold their energy for, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 seconds, maybe at the most. And this guy that I interviewed years ago, I'm going to have to get him back on again. He was talking to an older man at a site somewhere, I think in Utah. It was like a mining site. I think silver was what I believe they were mining for. And this older man came up to him and had started talking to him about things that he was actually the guy that was interested in. And long story short, he talked to him for about a half hour. But then the guy said, well, I got to go. You know, so this older man, who was probably in his late 80s, early 90s, walked away. And then he said, I need to get his address, because I want to talk to him some more. So I went to the office, and he said, yeah, I was talking to, you know, blah, 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 you know, this guy. And can you give me his address and stuff? I really want to get a hold of him. And they said, oh, that's impossible. He's been dead for 9 years. I said, no, I just talked to him for a half hour. Here, I said, I don't really get this, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's the longest that and you know what, I've probably have had other situations that probably have matched that I'm not quite aware of. But have you ever talked with any apparition that you know of, but then came to realize you actually talked to something that wasn't still alive?
No, I have not. That's been an experience that has not happened to me, unfortunately, because as an investigator, it's like, oh yeah, you know, give me more. But there was something recently on like Instagram or something like that, where this cab driver, and you see the door open, and then it closes again. This cab driver, yeah, where to? Okay. person in gear, and they hold a conversation for like 10 minutes, and he drops him off, and suddenly he can't find him. It's like, hello. He was never there. So yeah, and he freaks out and he gets out of his cab, and that's where the video ends.
Yeah, of course.
Man,
that would be some kind of an interesting experience, but I think I think I've had a couple of those. And yeah, it's they're long stories, but the thing is, it's like, can this happen? Yes. Is it weird at the time? Yes. Do most people experience it? Probably not, no, but it can happen. So that leads me to my next question about other types of things that you've experienced in investigating that you would find to be, I don't know, not creepy is the word, but something unusual or out of the norm. That one with the guy at the Winchester House, that's very interesting. I would love the opportunity to at least experience that. Of course, now that I put that out there, I probably will be manifesting something in my life. Trust me, it happens every time I open my mouth.
Gotcha. For a long time, when we first started doing investigations, I did not believe in orbs. Orbs were not a real thing for me. And then we did this one investigation that was just literally had everything from poltergeist activity, full-bodied apparitions, phantom noises, phantom voices, and apparently orbs, because one flew through me from my back, out my abdomen, then through my arm, out the other side, and we caught it on tape. And it wasn't a bug, because bugs don't do that. And it was eye-opening for me. So there's that orb experience, and then that went away. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I will capitalize on what you just said. So I'm pretty good when it comes to orbs now. I can kind of tell when they're intelligent. I've never really delved into residual orbs yet because I don't really see those. I do know about portals. I do know I've had portals. I do know I've had many experiences that the average individual will never have in their lifetime. That's probably why I do this show. But anyway, the thing with orbs, though, is that I also know that going through you like that, I've heard of only a couple situations, but I'm going to ask you the question. When did you capture that on tape or film, and when it went through you, or did you actually feel it go through you at the time?
I captured it on tape, and I responded to the second entry through my arm by scratching that exact area.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was wondering because sometimes people do, like even when they walk through, the possibility of walking through an apparition or something, they get an incredible sensation. For me, it's dizziness. I get dizzy and a little delirious, and my energy drains immediately. And yeah, I've had all kinds of things happen to me with that respect, because they always want to be hanging around. But that's another question for you too. It's like you were mentioning before about abilities. I want to just jump back for a moment.
Sure.
Do you have the ability of remote viewing?
I am not great at remote viewing. I have tried it before. The closest I came was that clairvoyant experience, but that doesn't really count as remote viewing. So I'm aware of it. I know it's a factual thing because I have friends who do it. And JJ is certainly capable of that as well, the psychic on my team. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I have not experienced that yet.
Yeah, well, you had mentioned earlier that sometimes things just kind of come and they go, and I find that with I have to be in certain, not moods, but frequencies of within my body, or that where I really, and when I start to activate, I know I'm activating. A lot of times I'll mumble it out, like, "Oh my God, I'm activating," because I can feel it, and then it's like, "Yeah, just drive me to the nearest casino and we'll win a jackpot."
Let's do it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's time because I'm activating.
The Vegas trip. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Sorry, I dropped my little
what? That's okay. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Drop my pen. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So, where have been some of the most interesting places that Winchester House? I'm yet to get there. I am going to get there at some point. What other interesting places have you experienced?
Most of my clients tend to have their own homes or apartments or something along those lines. That's been the bulk of my experience base as at private residences. So when it comes to stuff outside private residences, there's the Winchester House, and very, very recently there was I had an opportunity to visit the Mission Santa Monica. No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. San Miguel, Mission San Miguel. And if I'm being completely honest, it was just on my way home. Because I was driving up from down south, and I had to use the restroom. I'm not going to lie to you or your audience. So I go in there, and they're starting to close down. And to my knowledge, I don't think it's an active monastery anymore. I don't think so. Like San Juan Capistrano is still an active monastery. You can still see the monks walk around and stuff, but at that place, I don't think there is. Yet, I swear, I saw a monk rounding the corner, and he kind of gave me the side eye, gave me a little nod, and I nodded back, and off he went. And that was a few days ago. I thought, yeah, but then you go outside, and it's like, you read the placard, which I did, no longer active. I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds to me like it's still active. Well, yeah. But you know what? I mean, being there and investigating it and stuff, and again, you with your abilities, I would doubt, I'm just throwing the coin up in the air, anyone else that investigates with you doesn't always maybe see things that happen very quickly, that you see them and it's like, boom, it's just done and gone. Have you ever had that experience of being with somebody and then you see it or something happens and they're like, what, and completely miss it?
All the time. Never fails to happen. It's like, did you see that person over there? No, I didn't. Oh, okay.
I have a question about your eyes. Your eyes seem pretty remarkable to me in the ability to see things. I mean, just the idea that you can see auras, very, I agree with you, against a kind of a solid background that's not white would help to bring out these things. Or maybe if you're really on internally, you can see these things. When you get your eyes checked, have you ever had anybody or any eye doctor say to you, you got some really interesting whatever, in your eyes? Have they ever said anything to you like that ever? Because, they look in with their, and
no one's ever come back and said anything like that. I mean, I wear glasses because I have an astigmatism, but when it comes to like the cones and rods in the eye and the optic nerve, no one's ever said anything special. I am aware that I have a dead zone in my eye. Oh. One of my eyes. It's from an old injury when I was a kid. But so it killed that area. And if I look at certain things at a certain angle, like it'll go black and white versus, normal everyday color. But I had to really be like looking around in order to make it happen.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. But no one's ever medically seen anything like that. Although I am aware of certain studies that have actually looked into psychics and their ability and what their physical, is this a physical function or is it a mental function? Especially women that, they're, especially if they're mothers or have even gone through the process of, becoming pregnant and all that fun stuff, their frontal lobe goes through a massive change. And there's a lot of chemical stuff happening there. In fact, this happened to a family member of mine. And she is a strict, staunch, I don't believe in this paranormal stuff at all. It's complete garbage. And then she started her mediumship. It just clicked in. She was doing therapy. She's a therapist. And she calls me one day. She says, Tim, I know you're into this stuff. Don't think I'm crazy. Always what clients say and newcomers come into this stuff. I said, don't think I'm crazy. I'm listening. You're not crazy. What's happening? She told me about it. She says, the last couple of weeks, these people have been showing up during my session related to the client. And they keep giving me background information. I said, what? Really? She says, yes, but I don't know where they're coming from. It doesn't make sense to me. And I said, it sounds like mediumship to me, like something opened up and it's allowing you to perceive all this stuff. And it's so, it's really all about frequency energy, especially when your brain has gone through that much of a reset, I guess you would call it, especially after motherhood. Your perception changes radically sometimes, as is the case with my cousin. And she says, well, what do I do? I said, well, let me have you talk to my psychic who deals with this type of thing all the time. Okay. They bet. And she said, I think I can control it now, like at one point. I was like, oh, okay. Try and call up someone related to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do a test. And while she doesn't hear things, she's like me. She doesn't hear stuff, but she can see stuff. And not that I'm as powerful as she is at all. Calls up a friend of mine, and it took a while describing him and what he looked like and certain gestures he was making, just to kind of clue me in. It's like, oh, I know exactly who that is, and I name him. And a spirit apparently standing next to me says, yep, that's me. And I asked him a specific question because he had passed early in his life. He was my age. And I said, was it this, that, and the other thing? Because the circumstances of his death was not suspicious necessarily, but it kind of made sense. That was a given medical condition that went undiagnosed. And I said, is that what happened to you? And he says, yeah, apparently. And she relays that to me. It's like, okay, well, case closed. I'll miss you, man. And he gives me one of these again, and off he goes to wherever. It was great. It was a great moment. And it was good for her, too, because she finally got to see a more positive aspect to this ability. Whether she still employs it or not, I don't know. But it's been a boon. At least initially, it was a boon for her.
That's
not a scary one.
That's fascinating. Well, was she recently pregnant, or was she? Did she have children or not? At some point, and then all of a sudden, just something awakened and did that, or was she recently a mother? Became a mother?
At the time, she had. I think her second child had just turned 1, and it just seemed to pop on disability. As is the case with a lot of stuff, actually, related to this field.
Yeah, that's interesting. It reminds me of that movie, what was it called? Ghost, with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. All of a sudden, the woman was this exact same way, and then she's like, I don't know, but I've got this whole room full of people right now that want to chatter at me. Would you just go away? That is fascinating. To this day, she sounds like she still has this ability.
To my knowledge, yes. I haven't spoken to her in a little bit. I should probably call her. But last I heard, yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting. Have your abilities over time changed at all? Because I'm the same way. Mine sometimes come and then they kind of go, and then they come and go and whatever. So I don't usually try to force anything because I agree with you. The pineal gland is right about here, the frontal lobe area, and I always tell people I'm a lighthouse 24/7, but the gift shop is always closed up there. So it's like, how have you felt about that with yourself?
It seems to me to one degree or another, I'm always on, but like I said, when I get into an investigation, I'm kind of revved up in that space, in that mode, if you will. That's when things really click on, and everything dials up to at least 11, and, head on swivel, like I was saying. So, has that changed? Only in the fact that I'm aware of what is happening. Like, you get the physical sensations that go with all that, and I know I'm used to it. I know what it feels like. Whereas in the past, it's like, what's that? That's weird. And suddenly these weird pictures and stuff start floating through your head, and it's like, oh, okay, that's weird. I do have the precognition thing on this stupidest mundane things. Like, I know when a certain episode of a given show is going to be on. It's a rerun. It's like, I haven't thought about that in a while. And sure enough, it shows up that night. And that's clockwork. I mean, it's amazing. Nearly 100% of the time. But, again, mundane things.
I used to say statements. I have a very unusual ability, I guess, with electronics. That's where it all started for me at the age of 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we'll talk about that on your show a little bit. But I used to be able to, when I think again, I was in an activation stage. I think pretty certain I could literally say like a sentence, yada da 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 da, and next thing you know it on TV, da 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 da, exactly the same words that come to there too. So that's what you're referring to, right? You just kind of
exactly
you just
right.
know.
Like scenes. I get the scenes that suddenly play out in my head from a given show.
Yep.
From that's in reruns, and
Yep.
and there it is a few hours later.
Yeah. So I think it's sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good, but yeah. So let's see. I think you were in the, oh God, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you in the Air Force?
Briefly, yes. It was an ROTC program. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And did something happen to you during that time?
Along with no, well, kind of, not directly to me, but I heard a lot of crazy stories, just nuts, and I saw a lot of stuff I wasn't supposed to see. But my 30 years are up, so I can probably talk about it. So lots of stuff there. One was a couple of we call them SPs. Everyone else calls them MPs. And then, I don't know why, but we're security police in the Air Force. And these two guys, I was working at NASA at the time, and these two guys had just transferred in. Air Force had just taken over the military aspect of NASA Moffett from the Navy. And so he just transferred up from Vandenberg. He says, I will never forget this one story. And I'm eavesdropping. I mean, I was late back for my lunch because I wanted to hear this story. And so he says, yeah, we're on patrol at the one end of the base, and they got those little warehouses there. No one really uses them. And as we come through between these two larger buildings, we see this flash in the sky, maybe about 30, 40 feet up. And they look at, and they don't see anything. He and his partner stop. They don't see anything. I'm like, okay. And they march on and continue their patrol route. And then suddenly, have you been at those traffic lights that are only visible and when you're at the right angle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that effect, but imagine that on I'll call it an airship, but it was something else. So imagine that effect, like you walk into the visual spectrum of this thing hanging in the sky. And he said he described it as being about maybe 200 feet long. It was just a cigar-shaped thing. And it had these geodesics. Yeah, these domes on the ends. And it looked very much like what was described in the as the Hillenkotter or something like that. Have you ever seen that ship described? It's about the length of an aircraft carrier anyway. So, but it's up in the sky, just sitting there. And one of the warehouses at the very end, like butted up right against I think like a small little hill or something, is open and active, and they didn't think it was. So they're kind of taking this whole picture in, because there's these dudes pushing these pallets in, and there's a flash up of this ship. So what's going on? What's happening? And they continue, they start double timing it toward this warehouse, and then they fall out of view of the whole thing, and that the reverse of that effect kicks in, and they can't see it anymore.
Yeah, right.
It's like they were at the right angle. They found the sweet spot in this thing's field.
Yeah.
And so they report it. And then the CEO says, okay, do not write this report. Okay. We'll call it a soft report. I'll make a note of it somewhere, but this is not to be logged. Okay, got it. Well, long about maybe 3 months later, he hears from another group, did you know what we saw? And he describes the exact same thing. Yeah, we saw that too. We're going to report. So they went as a group, like 4 of them, to the CO. Guess what we saw? We saw it again. Okay, great, fantastic. I'll make a note, but again, no hard copies. So we had, he suspected it was part of this thing they called the Secret Space Force, or something along those lines. Secret Space Program. Yeah.
Do you think it was our doing, or do you think it was something otherworldly that was taking note and interest of what was going on where you were?
This seemed to be human run. I mean, there were humans interacting with this thing. He saw a little English lettering. He didn't see an Air Force star on it or anything like that, but there was definitely English lettering somewhere. There were warning panels like you would see on jets and stuff like that. So it seemed to be of human construction.
Well, I know that I've talked to a couple of people a long time ago who were security on military bases and stuff like that, Army or whatever, some military base. And they've had experiences with stuff like that. And of course, I'd ask the question, was it something we were involved in, or was it something otherworldly that took interest of that base? Because it's kind of odd, which leads me to my final question for you on the show tonight, which is, do you think, or do you believe, or are you certain, have you ever had any kind of otherworldly, and I'm just using that very vaguely, but experience? Have you ever had that, other than the fact that you saw this ship, but that's okay, set that one aside, that you know of?
To be clear, that wasn't my story. That's a story I overheard from another Air Force individual. Okay. Yes, in fact, it was after my stint in the Air Force. It was around 2002. I'm working at for a DJ company, and we're at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk doing an event. And we're loading in, like you might expect, all the big speakers and all that stuff. And as I'm loading it in, this individual kind of catches my attention because she is a child. I make her 12 by her height, give or take. And she's pale white, wearing a red striped shirt, kind of like Waldo, red pants, and she has gigantic sunglasses on with a red rim. And she has red shoes, by the way. And, or they're white. I think they were red. Anyway, she's playing like tag, but she doesn't understand how tag works with a bunch of other kids who are roughly 5 or 6. And they're running a circle around her, and she doesn't understand tag. And when she goes to tag them, her fingers are extra long, like that.
Oh.
Right? Like, I'm not even close to kidding you. And I was like, wow. And so I nudged my buddy. I said, you see that girl over there? Yeah, look at this. Look at her fingers, dude. Yeah, crazy, weird. He just wants to get into the venue, right? So I have a minor confirmation about what I'm seeing. So I help him load, but I'm still keeping an eye on things. And so at the little kids get rounded up by whoever their parents are, and this little girl's left alone. And she's humming and hawing, she's just doing her thing. And mind you, she's not making any real noise. She isn't singing, but she kind of acts like she is humming. And then she sees at the time a brand new VW bug. They're kind of dumbish and very sleek now, not the old school bugs. Yep. VW bugs. And it's lime green, and she freaks out, and she starts pointing at it with her very long fingers.
Oh God!
And she starts, like she knows what that is. Like, I've seen that before. And she keeps looking back, like she's yelling, but she is not making single sound at all, except for her footsteps. And she's pointing, and she's pointing. So I follow her eye line back to at least a 6'5", 6'9", maybe even 7-foot individual in what I describe as Jedi robes with the hood and everything. And hint of a breast, so I'm thinking female, under these robes. I couldn't tell. And I see wisps of hair. Platinum blonde, both of these individuals, I should point out. And bracketing this extra tall female is 2 men in black wearing driving coats that are kind of blue, and one's beige, so they kind of don't stand out as men in black, like they were trying to hide. Yeah. And they're just kind of scanning. I think one of them picks up on me because he does this. He talks into his sleeve. And not even 2 minutes later, this limousine comes out of nowhere and pulls in, skids to a halt. And the mother figure has to summon this kid. And she says, and she's still freaking out about the bug, looking at it. Oh, that's neat. That's cool. And she doesn't say anything. This is the capital thing for me, more than the physicality of these individuals, is she says, stop. With hand gestures now. Come here now. No words. I don't hear them say this, but that is the gesture now. And so the little kid stomps over, so children are children, wherever they are in the universe, I guess. And she stomps over, and they all pile into the limousine. That thing tears off like a bat out of hell. They almost hit like 10 people out the door going out, is trying to get away. And not only seeing these individuals, but they match almost exactly, if not exactly, the description that Charles Hall gave of the individuals and aliens he encountered.
Oh my goodness. So freaky. And so, you would have told me, and no offense to anybody who lives nearby or frequents Venice Beach, but the very first thing that went through my head, because Tim, I think you're out somewhere in California, but the thing is if you would have mentioned Venice Beach, I would have kind of passed it off a little bit, but it wasn't Venice Beach. Venice Beach, all kinds of crazy things that may look like that do happen on Venice Beach, right? But you describe is so, as they would say, otherworldly, and something that is almost so hard to get across to someone. It's like, I love the description of the fingers, how all of a sudden they... Oh,
the mother had those fingers too, so God, imagine an adult with those things.
Oh, that is weird. And then I love the disguise of the men in black, but they're trying to wear something else and trying to fit in, but they don't fit in because the way you described all of this, they don't fit in at all. It's just like something from a circus,
Virtually,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. And how long ago did that happen?
This happened around 2002.
Oh my goodness. So about 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy, but a good way to end the show. Tell them a little bit about how they can find you.
Sure. Let me tell you about the show real quick. It's called Paranormal Insight, as you see right there, PI for short. Paranormal Insight is the name of the show. You can find it on YouTube at paranormal_insight. Or if you go to the Instagram, I'm at paranormal.insight. And so remember that distinction. Don't get them confused because you won't find me otherwise. Just look for the green PI, basically. That's my logo. And if you need to contact me directly, I am available at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.
Thank you so very, very much for being on the show today. Thank you for watching and listening to Haunted Mysteries Podcast. The content, music, and creative sound effects, as heard on the Haunted Mysteries Podcast, are copyrighted and licensed commercially to Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Please do not reproduce in any manner without the express permission of Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz, Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Haunted Mysteries Podcast, and or any affiliated networks such as the Get Haunted Podcast Network. The opinions and information expressed by the guests, hosts, and sources as heard and seen on the Haunted Mysteries Podcast are not necessarily those of Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Haunted Mysteries Podcast, and the Get Haunted Podcast Network, as well as its producers. Although the content of the shows may be interesting, the information and opinions within are deemed for entertainment purposes only. Subscribe to continue your enjoyment and interest, and thank you for making Haunted Mysteries Podcast part of your day.